thing that I mentioned is that we are doing a non-spoiler review of Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. So that's what we're gonna do right now here. So we saw this movie last weekend. There was a little sneak peek screening that they had at AMC. I think other theaters too, but we got a chance. We had a chance to watch it, so we watched it last weekend. It officially came out today, or I guess you could have watched it last night. So that's what we're gonna stick to non-spoilers here. So I'm not going to give you guys any spoilers or anything like that. So so then Matthew, you watched this movie with me too. So
Sure did.
let's begin by. Well, actually, Matthew, did you know that there was a Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out in the year 2000?
Yeah, I heard it was terrible.
Yeah, I never saw this movie. I remember when they were advertising it. I know it came out like in December of 2000, and it didn't look interesting at all to me. And then I remember even then I remember that it was reviewed pretty terribly, and the box office it definitely did not do well at all. And now we're in 2023, and we have this new adaptation of Dungeons and Dragons. I've never played the game, so or the uh, what is it, role playing game? I've never played it, so I'm not gonna be able to tell you, give you my perspective based on comparing it to the movie and then the role playing game or whatever. And then you've never played this game either, right, Matthew?
No.
Okay, so so there's that. So this is just a person. We're just people here who watch the movie, just getting it from whatever movie that's the filmmakers were going to show us, and just overall, I really enjoyed it. And then Matthew, you really liked this movie too, right?
Yeah, I think I liked it more than you did. A
Yeah,
little more.
I think you did. Yeah. So let's see here. So let's, like always when we do these non-spoiler reviews, or just reviews in general, I like to break it down to certain things. I like to break it down to the positives, the pros, the negatives, the cons, and that's kind of what I'm going to do now for this review as well. So let's begin by the positives. Now, I'll just tell you right now, there are a lot more positives than there are negatives. So that's always a good thing here. So let's see. Let's begin by the dialogue and the humor in this movie. Now, this was kind of surprising. Now, I heard that the movie was being reviewed. So I had to cough here. I know the movie was reviewed very well, and so it was interesting to see, what it is that a lot of these reviewers are praising this movie for. Sometimes, there'll be some movies that are well reviewed and everything, but they're just not that good. They just don't resonate with me. So there's a possibility that that could have been the case here, but it wasn't, because I actually did like the movie here. And the dialogue and the humor in this movie, that didn't really translate that much in the trailer, because the trailer, there was a couple moments there that they showed a little bit of humor and stuff like that, but it didn't really capture me just based on the trailer. But when you actually watch the movie itself, it was actually really good, and I enjoyed the dialogue and the humor there. And I think the main thing that works for this dialogue and humor is because of the characters. So the majority of the characters here are well developed, with possibly only one of them still needing a bit more information about them. The actors' chemistry is great. Chris Pine's character is one that we have seen before, but he was still very entertaining in the movie. And this is the same thing with Michelle Rodriguez. She was surprisingly fun to watch in this movie. She was she was just surprisingly fun to watch.
Agreed.
Her character in the Fast franchise, I think, was more like a one-note character, but she does do a few different things here. And like I said, I was surprised that I liked her character, I liked her performance, so she was a lot of fun to watch. And like a lot of the characters, frankly, here. Then Justin Smith. Justin Smith was also interesting and fun to watch, along with Sophia Lillis, who plays the young Beverly in the It films. And so I think she's the one that's probably not developed as much. Like we know some information about her, but I think we know more information about the background of for the other characters compared to this one here. So, but she was overall a good character and fun character as well. Another positive, another pro here is let me see here. Oh, there's several action sequences in this movie that I think were very well choreographed, especially a scene involving Lilith's character. There was a scene with her. I don't want to get into details because that'll be spoilers, but there's a very cool action sequence with her that was very interesting, and I like the way that they did it because they could have easily just done this in a very basic, boring way, but decided to do it a little differently, and I think that worked, and I really like that. Again, I'm not going to get into details because then that'll be getting into spoilers probably, so there's that. And let's see. And then while some of the scenes with CGI in this movie, I mean, a lot of the CGI is not top notch, so you're not expecting, groundbreaking special effects. You're not gonna get Avatar, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, innovations here or anything like that. But there were multiple scenes that the CGI did work. So the scenes that had the mixture of practical and visual effects, many of those scenes were quite good. There's also one scene where the CGI was not particularly good, but it was in a way intentional and, in my opinion, made it the funniest scene I've seen in a while in any movie. And I don't know, Matthew, without exposing or saying what it is, do you know which scene I'm talking about?
Not exactly, no.
Okay, all right. So I guess I'll tell you later then. Okay, so those are the positives that I have. Matthew, what are your thoughts on positives, pros of this movie?
Well, firstly, when I was walking into this movie, I thought it was gonna be a whatever movie. I had just seen Shazam 2 the night before,
Oh wow!
or 2 nights before, and I was like, this will probably be, if not a little better, more or less on the same like wavelength as Shazam on how good it was, because the trailer didn't really do a good job on selling this movie to me. Okay. And I thought it would be another like cash grab movies on like these IPs that have been not as of recently, but more in like the mid 2010s that came out a lot. But I did enjoy this movie a lot. It's definitely one of my favorite movies so far in the year. I really enjoyed the chemistry between these characters, especially with Justice Smith and Sophia Lillis, which were my favorite characters slash actors in the movie. But my favorite part of this movie was probably, I don't know how to say his name or his fictional name. It's like Regé Page.
Oh, that's the guy from yeah. What's the name of that show? It's in a Netflix show which I actually haven't seen, but it was very popular when it first came out. I think it's called Bridgerton. Bridgerton, yeah. There you go. That actor, yeah, that's right. He was actually a lot of fun too. Okay, I keep saying the word fun a lot in this review, but like even that character was very nice to see on screen, not just seeing him on screen. I mean like his character is hilarious. Like he's not trying to be funny, but the things that he does end up being hilarious.
I found a lot of his scenes funny. They were like very like, I don't know what other term to use, in like light skin energy. Like he's like side staring, like majestic looking. And I just found that funny, like his entire character of not really understanding anything, but he's still like smart in a way.
Yeah. And then Hugh Grant is in this movie too, and a lot of his lines were hilarious. A lot of his dialogue and like little, what do you call those, little quirky things that he does was pretty funny. And there were some people there that you can tell that some people who came to the screening did play the game, because there was a part in the movie that something happens and then you can hear them in the background and they make like a noise like, oh, kind of like, again, I'm not going to mention it, but there's a couple things that come out in this movie that, a fan of Dungeons and Dragons recognize in the movies. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know what he was talking about, but I figured it has something to do with the whatever thing. So that was interesting. And let me see. Oh, and then right before, you know how, because we watched a little sneak peek of the movie, so we get like a little introduction from some of the cast before the movie starts. And then when they're like, okay, we're about to watch the movie, enjoy or whatever, then one of the guys was like, yay, or something.
Oh yeah, he literally said yeah.
Yeah, he was like, yay. He was like, okay, so there's some Dungeons and Dragons fan in here for sure. Okay, so there we go. And so those are the positives. So I'm gonna get to the negatives now, and the negatives actually don't have. I only have like one negative thing really. I think it's kind of significant, but there's only really one negative thing that I can think of right now after only seeing it once. And actually, before we get there, I know I see a few people here in the chat. Can you guys let me know if the audio is okay? If there's no echoey? If you guys can hear me okay? Because if I need to disconnect the cable, then I'll go ahead and do that. But if anyone could just let me know. So anyways, I'll continue here. So negatives, the cons of this movie, Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. So I guess the only real negative or con that I would say this movie has is the story. Now, as I mentioned before in other reviews and just in general when it comes to movies and stuff like that, story is very important to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people too. I mean, story is like the foundation of everything. It's like you have a lame ass story, then most likely that movie is not going to be good. So the story here is not necessarily a bad story. The story is not bad. It's just kind of basic or generic, but without the overall rounded characters and the type of humor that was used in the script for the story. Without these characters and this humor and dialogue and stuff like that, it would be a pretty boring movie, I think. What are your thoughts on that, Matthew?
Yeah, I agree. The story was very like, it's like very video gamey. Like you know exactly what the end goal is, and so this whole movie is like just like set up and getting things to get something, or all to just reach the end point, which you know is gonna happen eventually. That's just the way I saw it. The story wasn't really anything like
It wasn't
crazy.
groundbreaking, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like what would be, and I'm not putting you like on the spot right now, but what would be like a movie that the story was like amazing?
Oh my god.
I know.
Hold on.
Like I said, you're just looking for some movie titles. It's fine. I know you weren't expecting that, so that I'll put you on the spot here. But yeah. So I mean, it is very hard to come up with a brand new story that's no one has told. There's a shitload of movies, a shitload of series, animated stuff throughout the decades that it's kind of hard to come up with something original or new or fresh. So you might just get like little components, little elements of new things, new twists, with a story that we will be kind of similar to movies that we've seen before, stories that we've seen or heard before. So, I mean, the story, like I said, is not bad per se, but it's just not. I mean, it is kind of little basic, generic. With all the other stuff, it would be kind of boring. But good thing we have these great characters, these great actors performing the characters, great, like I said, humor and dialogue and so forth. And that's what made this movie stand out and elevate it. So it's a much better movie without it. And I really, really enjoyed it. So, Matthew, you think you're ready for now? You already gave me the grade because
I
you
did.
put it on social media.
Oh yeah.
So based on your grade, then I calculate the movie canon grade. So this is what we have here. So on my side of the screen, you see Gio's grade. I gave it a B plus. It's a see it. So in the movie canon, we use the three S's as the system, which is see it, stream it, or skip it. For me, it's a see it. And then Matthew, are you unable to see the?
I cannot.
Okay, so we have
Yeah.
Matthew's grade, which you see right there. Matthew's grade. It says see it, grade A minus.
Okay, yeah.
So that's Matthew's grade right there. Okay. All right. So there you go. A minus based on the grade that you put.
Yeah,
That's an A minus.
I would
So it's a see it for the both of us here. Kind of like, do you know who Cisco and Ebert are, Matthew?
Who?
Okay, never mind. Cisco and Ebert. So we have, like the some of my millennial viewers wouldn't know who Cisco and Ebert are, the two movie critics, the thumbs up, thumbs down. Does that ring a bell at all, Matthew?
No.
Damn, it doesn't ring a bell. Anyway, these two movie critics that they'll watch a movie together, they'll televise it, they'll talk about the movie whether they liked it or not, and they'll give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So back like in the 90s, you'll see a movie that'll be like, oh, Cisco and Ebert gave the movie 2 thumbs up. So like 2 thumbs up, right? So that's what it was like late in the 90s. So obviously I'm not going to take that because that's probably copyrighted or something. But that's kind of what I try to do sometimes. We have the millennial perspective, which is me, Matthew's perspective, which is the Gen Z perspective. So his thoughts, my thoughts. We both liked Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. So it's a see it. Definitely watch it. It just came out technically last night. So you haven't seen John Wick Chapter 4, definitely check this movie out. So there we go. And then you still have to watch John Wick 4, right, Matthew?
I sure do.
Yeah.
But I low-key do want to rewatch this movie.
Yeah, I do want to rewatch John Wick Chapter 4. I would watch this movie again, Dungeons and Dragons, but I want to watch John Wick 4 again more than Dungeons and Dragons watching that again. Even though I gave him the same exact grade, but yeah, there you go. So that's it for this one, for the non-spoiler review of Dungeons and Dragons.